Well, good afternoon. If you can see the temperature behind me, it's already 92 degrees, 92 and a half, and it'll probably go up to 93 or maybe even 94 before I finish this video. There's no air conditioning on in here, and I turned two of the, oh, I see, the ceiling fan is still going on low speed. I thought I turned it off, but I guess not. Anyway, I have three fans on me, but the most powerful one I turned off because when I light the candles, I can't do that, but the candles are going to make the temperature go up. Anyway, this is the video for the 26th of May, and it's called 555 is the quintessential energy for overcoming 666. Most people, I think, have heard that 666 is the mark of the beast. I'm not sure how many realize that the beast is none other than the corporate structured system that has been running and ruining the world for a very long time. Insanity is embodied in that corporate structure. It's the dead corpse ruling over the living souls. Yes, corporation and corpse come from the same root. But what about 555? The ambassador from our first conversation has been telling me that 555 will overcome 666. It's not what I read when I researched the meaning of 555, but to me, 5 is always quintessential, the heart of the matter, or sine qua non, not without which. It takes us back to our essence, or the divine within each and all of us. Sequential fives, especially the triple five, means mastery to me. And what enables us to master the beast? Only love with wisdom. Now, I actually wrote that more than 2 hours ago in preparation for this, and I've been sitting waiting for 555 to get here. I don't think I've ever waited that long after writing a blurb unless I wrote the blurb and then intended to come back later in the day and had to go somewhere. But this time I've been sitting at the computer waiting, going to get a drink of water about every 30 minutes because of the heat. Anyway, I found a web page called Riding the Beast, and it has the properties of the number 555. The symbolism of 555 is about discerning the spirits, whether good or evil. It's about desire and lust. It's about a swift attack and an expression of emotion, laughing or crying. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but in gematria, the Hebrew contraction, which I'm not even going to attempt to say it, adds up to 555, and it's translated as an eagle. Okay? And in Proverbs 30, 555 is also found, where it takes on, it says, a negative connotation when compared to the way of a man with a maid and an adulterous woman who claims no wickedness. Interesting. I'll get back to that. It is said that an eagle will hover gracefully before attacking its prey swiftly, much like the lustful man hovering over his maid and the adulterous woman who makes quick work of her meal. And the Greek 555 in the isopsophy, Aristo will probably know how to say that, is translated as discernment. And also desire or lust. Interesting. Interesting. Now, to me, as I said, 5 is quintessential. Now, the mark of the beast is said to be the number of man. I'm going to go a little bit further. It's not the number of man. It's the number of man who thinks he's separate or she is separate from God. They divorce the divine, separate the divine, compartmentalize the divine and the human. They create a polarization so that there cannot be wholeness. And the only way we can take over that corpse and ride the beast, remember, the beast is the fiction. The beast is the artificial creation. The beast is the true illusion. The illusion that we can be separate from anything, let alone separate from our source, from our own essence. We cannot, but we can convince ourselves that we are, and we can live as if we are. And that is the mark of the beast, living as if we are separate from God. Or the converse is also true. We may think that we embrace God, but we divorce our nature. We divorce the human part of ourselves, again, creating a polarization. So the polarized man or the polarized human becomes the beast. And when you polarize your own opposites, when you refuse to embrace the paradox, what happens is you have taken the mark of the beast. It's not a mark on the hand or the forehead, but it is a mark on what you do and what you think, and how you do things and how you think. So that's the mark of the beast. But the quintessential element put back in. Now remember, I said that the quintessential element 5 is the middle number. Because remember, there's only 1 through 9. Okay? Forget 0. There's only 1 through 9. Which one's in the middle? 5. It's the heart of the matter. It's the sine qua non. You cannot connect the upper and the lower without going through the middle. We've got to get back to our heart, back to source, which is within us. And when we get reconnected with source within us and we allow the connection of our lower energies or our earth energies or our maternal matter energies, the base, the root, the creativity, the sexuality, when we connect that with the upper chakras from the throat and the third eye and the crown, we can then become whole. But we have to connect them. And the way they're connected is the heart, or I'm sorry, the root chakra goes up through the heart, makes a figure 8, goes up to the crown, and back down and back to the root. And then you do the same thing with the sexual or sacral chakra. You go up through the heart and around through the third eye, back down through the heart and back to the sacral chakra. And you do the same thing with the solar plexus, which is the power center. You bring it up through the heart and up through the throat where you speak, the speech. So you speak where your power is. You have power words. You speak it, come back down, and you have 3. 3 is the number, 3 and 1. Okay, we connect it through the heart. So there's 3 and 1, and they're all connected. That's why 3 5s are the essential connection. 555 overcomes 666 because it reconnects us with our essence and our source, and both the positive and the negative, the masculine and the feminine, the divine and the human. All of our opposites are integrated when we do the 555 thing. That is wisdom. That is where love comes from. Now, it's interesting that the way of a man with a maid. I talked yesterday about compartmentalization and coexistence. And I talked about the battle that I've had my whole life with my favorite sin. Trying to reconcile the sexual and the spiritual. Because I was taught and inbred that these were in opposition to one another. Now, it's interesting because that is not natural for us to be in opposition with ourselves. That's an unnatural overlay or program put on top of creation to enable us to create poorly, to create a world that is basically ruined. As I said, the corpse, or the polarized entity, the corpse, that doesn't allow the communication through the heart, that ruins the world. But it also has been ruling the world. That's 666, the beast, the kingdom of the Antichrist, or if you will, the kingdom that goes against God. Now, how do you reconcile that? It's interesting, the way of a man with a maid and an adulterous woman who claims no wickedness. In other words, could it possibly be talking about a polyamorous woman that sees her role as a healer? As one who loves fully, without limits, those that she's able to love and brought into contact with, without judgment, even though she may love more than one man at a time. Well, I don't know about at a time, but more than one man sequentially. I don't, forget that. Anyway, this, I believe, is the healing for me, but it's probably the healing for a lot of people. that get their sexuality and take it out of the freaking box that it's been put into and allow the co-creation of worlds to take place. When you break the taboos, you go outside of your comfort zone, outside of accepted propriety, and you embrace something that is natural, and you allow it to be spiritual, and you don't fight it anymore with the damned religions that bind you up and imprison you, and make you the warden of your own prison by a faulty conscience, a guilty conscience. Guilt and shame are useless emotions. Useless. They are control mechanisms. And so basically is fear. But guilt and shame are the big ones. Guilt and shame produce the fear. I was ashamed and I hid myself. Now it's interesting. In Unity Church this morning, where I met my friend and continue to go there with her every Sunday, the minister told a little story to begin her message. And she told about an experiment, and I don't remember who she said or even if she said who did this experiment, but they took a baby bunny, just freshly born, and took it away from its natural habitat and its natural parent and let chickens that were just hatching, put it in with chickens that were just hatching. And the rabbit grew up to act like, and had behavior and with a diet of chickens. Actually, chickens. And after a period of time, with this bunny acting like a chicken, they put the bunny back with bunnies. And the bunny was horrified, went over into a corner, could not relate to other bunnies, could not relate to its natural parents, its natural family, could not relate at all because it had been programmed to believe or imprinted to believe it was a chicken. And then it was wasting. It wouldn't eat or anything, and it would have died. So the experimenters had compassion and put the bunny rabbit back with the chickens where it lived out the rest of its life happily. We have been placed, we came from the family of God, took on form as human beings, as matter beings, as physical beings, and we were put down here and we've been raised in a matrix, if you will, where we've been programmed to behave a certain way as if we're less than what we really are. And that puts the mark of the beast on us, because we're not whole, and we never will achieve wholeness as long as we're fighting our own nature, whether it's the nature of the physical or the nature of the spiritual, because they have to be one. As long as they are divided, whether you use Eastern religion or Western religion, if you divide them, if you separate them, if you demean either part of it, if you take any part and you go to war against that part of yourself, you have taken the mark of the beast, and you're going to end up not living a fulfilled life. You may convince yourself that you're fulfilled, but you will never be fulfilled, because you've separated and you've polarized the own parts of your being from each other, so that you could not experience wholeness, so that you could not experience wellness and healing and fulfillment, that you could not really know what love is, that you could not develop wisdom. Wisdom cannot be gained by learning. In other words, you don't get it from books. You don't get it from going to seminars. You don't get it from hearing anybody talk about something on the internet. You can only get wisdom by personal experience, and you can only gain personal experience that's going to help you integrate and help you grow and help you heal by being willing to go out of the comfort zone of the chicken family and into the zone of the superhuman, or the completed human, which is 555, the essential human, the light being, the luminous one, who is luminous not because they have rejected the dark, but because they have integrated the dark and learned how to dance instead of duel. This is the message I've been giving for a long time. I'm just doing it in different words. And the wisdom is coming to me as I continue to open my heart, as I continue to open my life, to allow myself to go outside of my own comfort zone, my own belief systems, break every taboo that I feel I can possibly break, and I have to be at peace with breaking it. It's not about breaking it just for the sake of breaking it, because then you're in rebellion. But it's about breaking it because you realize it's not who you really are. That you're being called to something higher, something deeper, something more powerful, something more authentic and more real, more genuine, more essential, quintessential, in fact. You're discovering the heart of the matter. You're discovering that which cannot be left out. That integration is the way of making peace. Integration is the way of becoming whole. Integration is the way of loving. Integration is acceptance of the polarities, not the elimination of them. Do you get the message? 555 is going to overcome 666 because you and I and many others are beginning to wake up and take back our heritage, take back our birthright. And I'm going to close with this, okay? Because this is something that I wrote many years ago. And it's about, I'm going to say it's about reclaiming the divine as humans and allowing God, and when I say God, I'm going to say God over and over again in this. When I say God, substitute whatever word you want. Source, creator, all in all, whatever you want to substitute, but I'm going to use the word God. God renews my mind. God reorders my emotions. God restores my soul. God refreshes my spirit. God regenerates my body. God releases my past. God reforms my faults. God removes my sins. God repays my debt. God repairs my breach. God reverses my decline. God remembers my destiny. God reinforces my defense. God repels my adversaries. God remains my advocate. God rekindles my passion. God reclaims my heritage. God rectifies my finances. God reawakens my DNA. God reunites my heart. God records my longings. God recreates my being. God recruits my helpers. God reveals my connections. God recovers my unity. God recognizes my gifts. God replenishes my supplies. God rejuvenates my love. God revives my relationships. God reveres my individuality. God respects my wishes. God redeems my life. God rewards my efforts. God resurrects myself. God resides in me. God and I are one. That's 555. When you recognize that God is not only in you, but God is living as you, and He wants you to be fully human, fully loving, and to become the adulterous man or the adulterous woman that recognizes that there is no wickedness. There is nothing to be guilty about by being a natural being, as created by God, to have a full and enriched and empowered human experience. It's ours for the claiming. Are you willing to claim your inheritance? Are you willing to take on 555 and overcome 666 in your own life? I leave you with this thought and these many thoughts. Thank you for listening. Namaste in Lagesh.